Good morning, students. How are you today? Are you very fine? I hope so. Now, students, are you ready for today's lesson? So, today we are going to speak about the present perfect tense. And I'm going to explain about the present perfect tense. So, let's talk about the form of the present perfect tense. The present perfect tense is formed by two things, the auxiliary verb have and has. For example, in all form, affirmative, negative and the interrogative, and plus the past participle. For example, she has worked in that office for 6 years. And here has and the form of the past present perfect tense and work it. Has here and the auxiliary verb and work it past participle and the work and the verb after suffix ed. Here are some more examples. Take a look. I have already eaten breakfast. She has seen that movie before. We have dealt with customers for many years. In these examples, the past participle has an irregular form, just like the list you've been studying. And eaten, seen, dealt here, irregular verb. Now the next. She has used a cash register before. He has worked for that company since May. We have already served their food. In this example, the past participle has a regular form and it looks just the simple past tense, but it is not. And the use and work it and serve it here regular form. Why? Because afterward will be just ed suffix. We often use contractions with this sentence. I have, I've here in the short forms, and I haven't. Or you have, you haven't. We have, we haven't. They have, they haven't. He has, he hasn't. She has, she hasn't. It has, it hasn't. For example, I have lived in Florida for 2 years. And in the short form of the sentence, I've lived in Florida for 2 years. And here is short form and I've. So, now that we've talked about the four words of the present perfect, we can now look at the reason, the function. We use it and see in what situation we need it. There are two main reasons we use the present perfect tense. They are completely different and they have no connection to one another. For example, do you want to guess? Okay, now students, are you ready? Reason one, we use the present perfect tense to talk about the completed past action at an unspecified time in the past. Perhaps we don't remember when the action happened. Maybe we don't know when the action happened. Or we just don't care when the action happened. The only thing that is important is that it happened at some time before now and but not any specific time. For example, here I've already eaten breakfast. She's seen that movie before. And here I've in a short form and already eaten here in the present perfect tense. When we want to ask a question about something that happened at any time before now, we say, how have you ever, for example, have you ever worked at a job you really loved? And has she ever worked at a job she really hated? And has he ever used a cash register? Have you ever supervised other employees? The short answer is yes, I have, no, I haven't. Yes, she has, no, she hasn't. Ever or never. Ever used with the present perfect. Ever means at any time. The specific time is a noun or ancestry and is used in questions. For example, have you ever met a famous person? Did you meet a famous person at any time in the past? Ever is also used with nothing, nobody, for things that haven't happened before. For example, nobody has ever traveled through time. Ever is also used with the first time for first experiences. For example, this is the first time I've ever eaten snake soup. Never. So I'm going to tell about never. Never is original contractions or not ever. Never means the subject hasn't had certain experience before. For example, have you ever been abroad? No, I've never been abroad. I've never had that experience before. Never can be used in negative questions to show the surprise that you've never had a certain experience before. For example, have you never played soccer? No, I haven't. I have never. And the next, already or yet. Already. Already means that something happened early than we expect. With present perfect, already usually goes after have and has and before the main verb. For example, we've already had our breakfast, and we've here in the short form of the present perfect tense. And when are you going to do your homework? But I have already done it. And then here is short form, and I've already done it. So, do you want a cup of coffee? No, thanks. I've already had one. And then they're short of the present perfect tense, and here I've already had one. And the answer on this. Yet. And yet means that something that we expect has happened or hasn't happened. We usually put it at the end of a sentence. For example, has the post arrived yet? Have you done your homework? Haven't you got ready yet? Look at it time. If you want to ask questions about something that happened at a specific time in the past, we wouldn't use the present perfect tense. We need to use a different tense. Can you guess which one? You are right, the simple past tense. When did they use a cash register? They used a cash register last year. And the answer of the sentence. When did you supervise other people? I supervised other people 2 years ago. In here, past simple tense. Last year, yesterday, 2 years ago, last week are all the words we use in simple past tense. We often use the present perfect with already to talk about things that have happened before now. For example, I've already eaten breakfast, she's already read that book, you were too late, and he's already left for school. We usually use yet in questions to find out if something has happened before now. For example, have you bought your mother a present yet? Has she seen that movie yet? And then has they left for the school? Often, when we are speaking, we go back and forth between these two tenses, the present perfect tense and the past simple tense. Take a look at this example. And here, Michael. And here, Tanaya. Michael, have you ever supervised other people? And Tanaya has answered about this question. Yes, I have. Michael, when did you do that? Tanaya, I supervised others last year in my previous job. And the answer of this, the question of this, the answer of this sentence. I supervised others last year in my previous job. Reason 2. With the words for and since to talk about something that began in the past and continues to now. For example, I've studied at the school since last June, and she's lived in West Palm Beach for 2 months. Since word plus point in time. Use the present perfect with since plus point in time, since 5, since Monday, since 1994, to share when something started. For example, I've worked at a job since last year. He's lived in Florida since March. They've been married since 1985. And I've lived in Lake Worth since I moved to Florida. And since is also introduced in time clause. 4. For and plus length of time. Use the present perfect with for plus length of time for 10 minutes, for 2 weeks, for years, for a long time to show how long a present condition has lasted. For example, I've worked at a job for 1 year. He lived in Florida for 9 months. They've been married for a long time. And for 1 year, for 9 months, for a long time here. So, how do we ask questions using this sentence? When we want to know the length of time something has taken place, we use the question words. How long here question. For example, how long has she studied English at the American English Center? Now write question and answer them. Make their answers true for you. Now students, you should write your questions and answer them. For example, she see her sister, and then you have to write the questions. Has she seen her sister? For example, they phoned the doctor, and then how will be in the present perfect tense? You can change this sentence into present perfect tense. And let's make question. Have they phoned the doctor, right? The next. Complete the following sentence with since or for. And then now students, you have to complete the following sentence with since or for. And you should put here since or for. And you have to write sentence using the present perfect for and the since or for. For example, here I did not play tennis last summer. And now, I haven't played tennis since last summer. Do the exercise, please. Complete the text using the past simple and the present perfect tense. For example, London has, and here have, and had. It is a present perfect tense. London has had an underground train system since the 19th century. The London Underground here and the past simple. Why? Because in 1863, and here in the past simple, and you should put in the past simple, and you should put the form of the past simple. The London Underground started, and start here, verb after verb, and the ed suffixes. Correct the following sentence. You should correct the following sentence. For example, I have played tennis last week, and I played tennis last week. Do the exercise. Therefore, thank you so much, students.